morning, dear students. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English. Today in this video lecture, I shall be discussing with you the definitions and terminology with reference to Module 2nd. Module 2nd, which is in our syllabus. So I shall be talking about the key terms, the key definitions which are related to speaking skill. As our second module that is related to speaking skill. So in this video lecture, we shall be talking about the key terms. We shall be talking about the main definitions regarding speaking skill, regarding module 2nd of our syllabus. Let's start. So first I would like to talk about speaking skill. What is a speaking skill? Speaking skill, it is the ability to communicate effectively through spoken language. Speaking skill means it is that ability. It's that capability to communicate effectively through spoken language. When we use our spoken language to communicate effectively, we call that speaking skill. It involves expressing ideas, thoughts, information clearly and coherently in various contexts. What does it involve? The speaking skill, it involves to express ideas, express thoughts, and express information clearly and coherently in various contexts. So, speaking skill does not mean as I told you, it is an ability to communicate effectively. It cannot be such a communication which is not effective. It cannot be a communication where the listeners are not aware of your thought content. It cannot be that communication where you have not organized it, where you have not ordered or well structured your presentation. So that cannot be called the effective communication, and that cannot in general be called a good speaking skill. Speaking skill is, as I told you, it involves expressing ideas and thoughts and information. But it's not the only just delivery or expressing of these thoughts. It is when we express them clearly and coherently in various contexts. So that is what we call as speaking skill. Then we have the second one, that is oral communication. What is oral communication? Oral communication is the process of transmitting information or ideas through spoken words. It encompasses verbal discussions, presentations, and speeches. What is oral communication? It is the process of transmitting information or ideas through spoken words. It is when we transmit information and ideas, through spoken words. When we transmit ideas and information through spoken words, it encompasses verbal discussions. When we are having verbal discussions, it also includes presentations, and it also includes speech. So oral communication is very simple to understand. It is the communication, it is the process of communication or transmitting ideas through spoken words. When we speak words, when we do communication with the help of spoken words. So we can say spoken communication is also called the oral communication. And it can include verbal interactions, interaction between the people, verbal interaction. It can include discussions. It can include presentations, and it can include certain speech. This all comes under oral communication. Then the next point is fluency, which I want to discuss here. What is fluency? So fluency in speaking refers to smooth and natural flow of speech. Fluency does not mean to speak with the speed. It means to maintain a smooth and natural flow of your communication. Maintain a smooth and natural flow of speech. It involves the ability to express oneself without hesitations, pauses, or disruptions, contributing to effective communication. It includes the ability to express oneself without hesitations. So fluency is not like, as I told you, we call the people who speak in a speed, we call them they are fluent. Fluent means the people who follow the smooth and natural flow of the speech. And fluency also means to express your ideas without hesitations, when you speak without hesitation. when you speak without pauses, when you speak without any disruptions. And fluency, it contributes to effective communication. Fluency is important for effective communication. If you want to speak effectively, if you want to communicate effectively, you require fluency for effective communication. It's not that, it's going to help your communication. As I told you, fluency, it is like to communicate without hesitations, without pauses, without disruptions. It contributes to effective communication. Then we have the next point, which we call as articulation. Now, what's articulation? Articulation is the clarity and precision with which individual sounds, syllables and words are pronounced. Good articulation enhances understanding and prevents miscommunication. Articulation is much needed for every communication. Articulation can bring you clarity. It can bring you precision. So articulation means to articulate individual sounds and individual syllables and words well. It means to pronounce sounds, pronounce syllables and pronounce words in a good manner. To articulate them in a good manner. And good articulation, it enhances. Good articulation, it enhances understanding and prevents miscommunication. So we require good articulation for every communication. Why? Because it enhances understanding. You can understand the speaker if he is good at articulation. Your speech can be understood better when you are good at articulation. When you know how to pronounce every sound, every individual sound and every individual syllable. And when you know how to pronounce all the words, a particular word. So when you have the information, when you know the art of articulation, there are chances that your speech can be easily understood, and there are chances that this articulation can prevent you from miscommunication. And this is the role of articulation. I tell you, both fluency and articulation, they go by side in order to make your communication comfortable, in order to make your communication understanding for others. So when you follow a proper flow, when you follow a natural flow in your communication, when you follow the natural flow in your communication can easily be understood by the people. Your communication will be an effective communication. In the same way, for that fluency, you require articulation. Or I can say it is your fluency that can enhance your articulation. When you are able, when you are aware when you are able to follow a right pattern or to follow a natural flow in your communication, obviously you will be pronouncing every individual sound and syllable well. And when you are good at both fluency and articulation, your communication will be an effective communication and people will easily understand you. Then the next thing is pronunciation. What does pronunciation mean? What does it involve? It means the correct and clear formation of sounds in a spoken language. Accurate pronunciation, it contributes to effective communication and helps the intended message. And it helps to convey the intended message. See, pronunciation is the bedrock of every communication. It's the backbone of every communication. It's the foundation of every communication. You may be having good content, you may be having good thoughts, good ideas which you want to share with the people. But unfortunately, when you are not able to pronounce them well, when you are not able to just convey them well, people will not understand you. You cannot be understood by the people. Why? Because your pronunciation is faulty pronunciation. I would like to quote the examples. If you quote the example of the Hindi belt of our country, India, MP, UP, you will see the greatest of the professors, they are committing mistakes. For example, there is a word SMALL. Its pronunciation is small. Small. The initial sound is S. Small. But you will see people, they never pronounce it as small there. They pronounce it as small. as if it is ISMALL. Is small, that's wrong. Speak, that's wrong. School, that's wrong. Actually, this is the influence of mother tongue. Now come to the southern area. The greatest injustice is being done with the word LISTEN. The word is listen. Listen. So this sound is sir here. But people have pronounced it in the southern area. They pronounce it as listen. Z. That's some other sound that we use in zebra. Z sound is different. But here it is sir. Listen. What I want to tell you by quoting these examples, your communication cannot be an effective communication if you are not good at pronunciation. Though you may be having good content, you may be having a good message to share with the people, but people cannot understand you. Why? Because your pronunciation is faulty. Because you're not speaking in a way, you're not speaking according to the general rules, according to the general code of conduct when it comes to pronunciation. So pronunciation is much needed. For spoken language pronunciation, as I told you, it's the bedrock, it's the foundation. It's much needed for the spoken communication, for the spoken language. You cannot speak properly, you cannot be understood properly if you do not know pronunciation. It can come to you when you have the knowledge of all the phonemes, when you have the knowledge of all the sounds which a particular language is made up of. If I talk about English language is made up of 44 sounds, where 24 are consonants and 20 are vowels. So you can better pronounce English language well when you have the knowledge of these 44 phonemes, when you have the knowledge of these 44 sounds. So when you have the knowledge of these 44 sounds, then only you can pronounce better. And apart from the pronunciation, there are then other things like syllable division is there, stress and intonation is there. So these are the parameters which you require for the pronunciation. Stress, which syllable requires stress in a word or in a sentence. Which tone you have to apply to an exclamatory sentence, to an assertive sentence, to a command. What does tone? Which tone a command requires, an octative sentence requires. So when you know all these things, when you have the knowledge of phoneme, when you have the knowledge of sounds, individual sounds, when you know what is syllable division, when you know what is stress and intonation, when you have the knowledge of rising tone, falling tone, or different tones, then only you will be aware regarding the pronunciation. Your pronunciation will be good, it will be accurate, and people will understand you, and your communication will be an effective communication. So pronunciation, it plays a vital role in spoken language. Then we have another thing, that is intonation. What does intonation mean? I introduced this to you. It is the rising and falling of pitch in a speech. It adds expressiveness and conveys different meanings or emotions. Proper intonation is crucial for effective communication. It is the rising and falling of tone. See, as I quote this example many a times, when you are very hungry, you have not eaten food during the day. When you reach to your home in the evening, your mother is normally telling you, you go to the washroom, you change your clothes, you just get well fresh, and then you can have the food. But when you speak like this, how can you speak at that time when you are very hungry, you have not taken anything in the day? Your tone, it rises, hey, please give me food. So that tone is defining, that tone is indicating, is telling your mother, no, my son or my daughter is very hungry. He or she needs food first. Then he or she may do some other work. Then he or she may change his or her clothes. But first he or she needs food. So it is because of this rising and falling of your tone You could share the emotions, you could share the feelings you are going through at a particular moment. So you can make as I told you, it adds expressiveness to your speech, and it's very important for your speech. And proper intonation is very important for effective communication. Your communication cannot be effective communication if you do not have the knowledge of intonation. If you do not know what is rising and falling tone. It's very important, both the things, pronunciation and intonation. Now you know the good pronunciation of every word, but unfortunately you do not know how to form a sentence. You do not know how to maintain the tone of a sentence. Your communication will not have the impact on the listeners. It will have the impact on listeners only when it contains, when it has that taste of intonation in itself. When it contains intonation in itself, your communication, your good pronunciation can be a help to you only when you know which tone you have to maintain for different sentences. So this is about pronunciation and intonation. So again, this is important for our communication. Then we have voice modulation. Now what's voice modulation? It is the variation in pitch, tone and volume during speech. It adds emphasis, emotion and interest to spoken communication, making it more engaging. You are modulating your voice. Sometimes you are touching the higher tone. Sometimes you are speaking with a lower tone. So this variation in the pitch, this variation in the tone, this variation in the volume during your speech, it adds more emphasis, emotion and interest to spoken communication. When you modulate your voice, so you are adding more emphasis. As I gave you the example regarding the food, when you increase your voice, no, please give me food, I'm hungry. So this increase of voice, increase of tone in your communication, it adds your emotion that you are hungry. You put emphasis on the sentence, and your parent, your mother or father who is going to give you food just gets to know that my son or daughter is hungry. So it makes your communication more engaging. Then we have the next point, that's clarity. Clarity in speaking. It involves delivering messages in a manner that is easy to understand. Clarity in speaking, it involves delivering messages in a manner that is easy to understand. When you deliver messages in a manner that is easy to understand. So clarity is very essential for every communication. You may have better pronunciation. You may be an expert in intonation. You may be an expert in voice modulation. But unfortunately, if your message is not clear, it cannot be understood by your audience. Though you may be having good knowledge about pronunciation, you are good at voice modulation, you are good at different parameters which you require to speak, but if it does not contain clarity, your message will go in vain. It's waste. People will not understand you. So clarity in speaking, when we talk about clarity in speaking, it means to deliver a message in a manner that is easy to understand. Deliver a message in such a manner so that people can easily understand it. That's clarity. You can bring clarity by choosing simple language, simple phrases, day-to-day examples, day-to-day illustrations, by using normal words, by using common day proverbs. So by including each and everything, you can bring clarity to your message. It includes appropriate vocabulary. The vocabulary which is appropriate, which aligns, which connects, or which joins with your content. Then, structuring sentences coherently. Clarity can be also introduced, or clarity can be gained by the proper structuring of the sentence, What does I mean by proper content, this structuring of sentence? I mean the logical order in the sentence. When you follow the logical order in the sentence, you bring clarity to your speech and avoiding ambiguity. You should always avoid ambiguity. So whatever there is ambiguous in your speech, you should avoid that ambiguity. You should make your speech more simple. You should make your speech more common so that you can bring clarity to your speech. So we cannot make our speech ambiguous. That hampers the clarity. Then public speaking. Public speaking is the fact of addressing a large audience. It requires effective speaking skills, confidence, and the ability to engage and persuade listeners. Another important term which is related to our second module, that is public speaking. Public speaking is to come out of your private shell and speak in public. Your public can be only a single person. It can be a huge crowd. It can be a group of people. It can be a group of people. So public speaking means to come out of your private life, to come out of your private shell and speak in public and talk to people. You may be addressing a larger audience at once. That is public speaking. And when you are addressing a larger audience, obviously it requires a lot of homework. When you are talking to a lot of larger audience, you have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. There are certain parameters which you need to take control over, which you need to keep in your mind. Like, you should have effective speaking skill. You can only be a good public speaker when you have an effective speaking skill. Your speech must be effective. It must be the speech which can be easily understood by the people. Then you must have confidence because you are talking to a larger audience. You are talking to a large group of audience. So you cannot talk to the larger audience without confidence. And the ability to engage and persuade listeners. You must be a person who can engage the audience. Because to engage the audience is a skill. You cannot be a public speaker if you do not know how to engage the audience. Sometimes there may be any drawback, there may be any obstacle in your speech during your speech. Sometimes electricity may just totally disappear, may not work, may not come. Your tools, your equipments may not work. So you must know how to engage your audience. If you know how to engage your audience, you can be a better public speaker. And a public speaker, he needs the persuasive skill. You must know how to persuade your listeners. Because the art of speaking, it depends upon the persuasion. People only listen you carefully when you persuade them, when you know the art of persuading. You may be talking on a dry subject, on a dry topic, which people don't want to listen from you. But if you have the capability, if you know the tactics, if you know different strategies by which you can persuade people, so you can be a better public speaker. Or it's not like public speaking, you stand and you start talking in the public and you call it public speaking. It's not only to stand in the public and speak anything, no. Your speech, your talk, your discourse must be understood by the people. It must be supported by confidence. It must be supported by certain abilities. You must be a person who can make a direct eye contact with your listeners. And public speaking, it also requires body language. You must be aware of the fact that 70% of your communication can be understood by the people if it contains body language, if it has the support of body language with itself. So body language is much required. Your communication, you cannot be a public speaker if you do not have body language. Body language is much required. So as I told you, public speaking, it's an act of addressing a large audience. It includes certain abilities like speaking skill, confidence, public engagement, the ability to engage people, persuade listeners, body language, so on and so forth. There are other parameters which are required. Conversational skill. Now we shall be talking about conversational skill. What is conversational skill? Conversational skill involves the ability to engage in a meaningful and effective dialogues. Conversational skill, to build the conversation, to be a part of conversation. It involves the ability to engage in meaningful and effective dialogues. You can be a person who can indulge in conversation when you have the ability to engage in meaningful and effective dialogues. It includes turn taking, responding appropriately, and maintaining a balance between speaking and listening. Conversational skill can come to you, or it includes turn taking, when you are taking the turns, responding appropriately to the people. When you respond to the people, we can say you have that conversational skill. What does a conversation require? Right now you are listening to me. I want you should signal me whether you are understanding me or not. If you have those skills, if you are responding to me, you are having conversational skill. And maintaining a balance between speaking and listening. You should not be a person who speaks all the time and is not giving other people or other person or other people an opportunity to speak. No. Conversational skill means to make a balance. You need to make a balance between listening and speaking skill. Verbal communication. What's verbal communication? It refers to the use of spoken or written words to convey messages, information, ideas between individuals or groups. Verbal communication, it refers to the use of spoken or written words. When we are communicating with the help of spoken words, right now I am communicating to you with the help of spoken words. So this is called verbal communication. And another form of verbal communication is when we communicate with the help of written words. When you are reading these slides, so it is a written communication. Or I can say, when I write a letter to you, that's a written communication. You write a letter to someone else or a message to someone else, that is written communication. So that also comes under verbal communication. So verbal communication, it refers to spoken or written words to convey messages. When we convey message, information, ideas to the individuals or to a groups, this communication can happen between the groups, not only between the individuals. Now what does it encompass? It encompasses the usage of language, including vocabulary, grammar, syntax to express thoughts. What do you require? We require vocabulary, good vocabulary. See, when I communicate to you, I am using a vocabulary, I am using a particular pattern of words I am using. These are the words which you easily understand. I am talking according to grammar. My sentences are grammatically correct. So when we speak and write to someone, we should follow grammar. We should follow the syntax when we speak and when we write. That is the structure of sentences. Subject should be placed at its place. Object or predicate should be placed at its place. This we require in order to express our thoughts and feelings with the help of verbal communication. And verbal communication, it can take various forms such as face-to-face communication, phone calls, written messages or presentations. There are different forms of verbal communication like face-to-face conversations or face-to-face communication. If I call you or if somebody calls us, that is a verbal communication. When we write messages, verbal communication. When we deliver speech or attend speech, verbal communication. When we deliver presents or attend presentations or attend presentations, verbal communication. So this all comes under verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, it involves transmission of messages without the use of words. Non-verbal communication is the communication where we transmit our message or our idea, our feelings without the use of words. Then what does it contain? It contains facial expressions. It contains body language. It contains gesture, posture, eye contact, tone, and other linguistic cues, non-linguistic cues. So when we are conveying our information without the use of words, or when we convey the information with facial expressions, with body language, with gestures, with postures, with eye contact, with tone of voice, or with other non-linguistic cues like visual cues, we call that non-verbal communication. And non-verbal communication, it plays a very crucial role in interpersonal interactions. It influences our messages. See, if I speak only, I do not use my body language. If I sit like this in front of you, my message will not be so influential. It may not be so effective. Now, when I use my body language, use my hands, use my head, use my facial expressions, use my eye movements, I make my communication active and lively. So this is what is non-verbal communication. The next term, I would like to talk about 4 essentials of effective speaking. If you want to speak effectively, you must have these 4 qualities. Number 1 is clarity. Whatever you are speaking, that should be clear. Number 2, engaging delivery. You should be able to engage the audience. Number 3 is audience awareness. When you are speaking to a person, to a people, or to a group of people, to people or to a group of people, it is better you should be aware of your audience. You should know your audience better. Then only you can speak better. Then only your speech can be effective speech. And confidence. To convey a message, it's always important to be a confident person. Because when you speak confidently, your speech is having some impact on the audience. So the 4 things which we require, the 4 essential elements which we require for effective speaking, they are clarity, engaging delivery, audience awareness, and confidence. When we talk about non-verbal communication, there is one more term which I want to discuss with you, that is gesture. What is gesture? It refers to a non-verbal form of communication. It involves body movements, posture, action, which we use to convey meaning, which we use to express emotion or emphasize a message. Gesture is a non-verbal form of communication. It involves body movements like certain postures, bending, standing, going to a side, using hands, some actions, sometimes calling a person like this, can you please stand up, like this. So we use these gestures in order to emphasize a message, in order to express an emotion, or in order to convey some meaning. Now, what does the whole term body language mean? It refers to non-verbal communication expressed through gestures. Body language means non-verbal communication which we express through gestures, which we express through postures, through facial expression and other bodily movements. This all is body language. When we express anything through gestures, through postures, through facial expression and other body language, body movements, when we convey information or any intention or emotion through these things, we call it body language. Then we have different elements of facial expressions. What are the different elements of facial expressions? Facial expressions, there are a range of elements including eye contact, eyebrow movement, mouth position and overall facial activity. So all of which contribute to conveying emotions and messages non-verbally. So when we talk about facial expression, It includes eye movements. It includes movements of eyebrows. It includes mouth position and overall facial activity. So we are using these different movements and different things of our face to convey a message non-verbally. So that is what we call as facial expression. What are the illustrators in body language? These are gestures which accompany words to illustrate a verbal message. For example, you are asking me, sir, will you come or tomorrow? If I am not coming, I nod my head and I am telling you, no, I am not coming tomorrow. So this is an illustrator. It is a gesture accompanied by a word or accompanied by words, and it illustrates a verbal message. Then, what is a sign language in speaking skill? It is a system of communication using visual gestures. You can simply take the example of traffic signals or some sign language which is most commonly used by deaf people. What are the barriers to speaking? There are different barriers which can stop or hinder our speaking, like unclear data, unclear information, inconsistent communication, unclear pronunciation, miscommunication, negative words. These are the barriers to speaking. What's oral presentation? It is a structured, prepared and speech-based means of communicating information, ideas to a group of people in order to inform or discuss on the specific topic. A well-structured and a well-prepared speech given to people in order to discuss a topic or in order to inform them, that is oral presentation. Now, what are visual aids? Like whiteboards and interactive whiteboards, flip charts, OHPs, overhead projector, slideshow, slides, videos, PowerPoint, they all are visual aids which we require for any speech. Oral communication I discussed. What's cliche? Cliche is a phrase that is overused. That's overused. What are the primary components of effective speaking? Primary components are like, as I told you, clarity, engaging delivery, audience awareness, and we have the these are the primary components of effective communication. What is the importance of speaking skill? Speaking skills are crucial. What is it? Why are they important? They empower individuals to articulate thoughts clearly. They allow a person to speak about his thoughts clearly. They convey ideas persuasively and build strong interpersonal relationships. In order to build strong interpersonal relationships, we require speaking skills. What do you mean by enhancing professional edge for career development? Enhancing professional edge for career development. It implies the strategic process of improving and distinguishing your skills. It means to improve your skills and distinguish your skill, experience and attributes to stand out and advance in your career. When you stand out and when you make any improvement in your career. Then what is holistic communication development? It refers to comprehensive approach to develop various aspects of communication skills. Holistic communication development means it is the process by which we develop our communication skills in order to make our communication better. What is precision? It is the quality or the condition or fact of being exact and accurate. When you speak accurate, when you speak exact, that is precision. What is PPT, PowerPoint presentation? It is a collection of individual slides that contain information on a topic. So these are the main key terms which I discussed with you. I would like to just make a quick revision. One is speaking skill, other is oral communication, then fluency, articulation, pronunciation, intonation. These are the definitions regarding to your second module. Then voice modulation, clarity. Then we have one of the important skill, that is public speaking. Then one more important skill is conversational skill. Verbal communication, I discussed this in detail. You need to know this. Non-verbal communication, I also discussed this in detail. Then I talked about 4 essentials of effective speaking. Then we have, these essentials are clarity, engaging delivery, its audience awareness, and its confidence. Then I talked about gesture in the non-verbal communication. Then I talked about body language in general. Then I talked about different elements of facial expressions. Then I talked about illustrators in body language. What are illustrators in body language? These illustrators, they always help us to make our communication effective. Illustrators are much required in any communication. Then I talked about sign language. You can take the help of these traffic signs, signals, or other signboards. Then I talked about different barriers of speaking. These are the barriers which hinder our speaking process. Then I talked about oral presentation. Then I talked about visual aids. We use these visual aids for different sorts of speeches. Like I am right now using slides, PowerPoint presentation, slides I'm using. Then I talked about oral communication. Then I talked about a term which is called cliche. Then I talked about components of effective speaking, importance of speaking skill, enhancing professional edge for career development. As I told you, it involves acquiring and honing competencies that set you apart in competitive job market. It means to enhance those qualities, to bring those improvement in yourself, which make you different in the competition in the market, in the job market. So when these are those qualities which makes you different from others. So then holistic communication development, then precision I talked about PowerPoint presentation. This is all for today. There are certain sources. If you want to get some extra information on the topic, you can consult these sources. I would like to stop here. Thank you. Thank you for listening me carefully. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.